Welcome back, coin hunters. Get ready, because today we're exposing the top 5 most dangerous and valuable dirty Sacagawea dollar coins ever found, from the 2000 P and 2000 D all the way to the mysterious no date and missing mint mark errors. And some of these could still be hiding in your pocket change right now. 2000 P Sacagawea $1 coin. The year 2000 marked a bold new beginning for United States coinage. After years of limited success with the Susan B. Anthony dollar, the United States Mint introduced a completely redesigned dollar coin intended to finally capture public interest. The result was the Sacagawea $1 coin, a golden-colored piece that stood out immediately from previous designs. Struck at the Philadelphia Mint, identified by the P mint mark, this coin was produced in enormous numbers. Over 767 million coins were minted in Philadelphia alone during its first year. This staggering mintage was driven by high expectations, the belief that this coin would circulate widely and replace paper dollars in everyday use. But something unexpected happened. Despite its beauty and historical significance, the Sacagawea dollar did not achieve the widespread circulation the mint had hoped for. Millions of coins were stored away in vaults, never entering daily use. And yet, paradoxically, millions did circulate, passing through hands, vending machines, banks, and cash drawers, slowly transforming over time. Now let's address something important right away. There is often confusion when it comes to mint marks. A 2000 P Sacagawea dollar is from the Philadelphia Mint. A coin with a D mint mark is from the Denver Mint. These are distinct coins, and collectors pay close attention to this detail. So when we talk about the 2000 P Sacagawea dollar, we are focusing specifically on the Philadelphia issue, even when it appears in dirty, circulated condition. And that condition is where things get fascinating. At first glance, a dirty coin might seem undesirable. Dull color, uneven surfaces, dark patches, it doesn't have the shine collectors usually seek. But with the Sacagawea dollar, the story is different. These coins are made from a manganese brass alloy, giving them their signature golden appearance. But this alloy reacts strongly to environmental exposure. Over time, coins that circulate develop unique surface characteristics. Oils from hands, air exposure, humidity, and contact with other materials all contribute to changes in color and texture. A once bright coin can turn deep gold, brown, or even display streaks and patches that look almost artistic. And here's the key insight. This dirty appearance is often not damage, it is natural aging. Collectors are increasingly recognizing that naturally toned or aged coins can be more interesting than perfectly clean ones. Each dirty Sacagawea dollar becomes unique, a one-of-a-kind result of its journey through time. Now let's explore the design, because this coin carries one of the most meaningful images in modern U.S. coinage. The obverse was designed by Glenna Goodacre and features Sacagawea, the Shoshone woman who played a crucial role in guiding the Lewis and Clark expedition. She is shown carrying her infant son, Jean-Baptiste, on her back. There is no confirmed historical portrait of Sacagawea, so this image is an artistic interpretation. It was modeled after a modern Shoshone woman, giving the design authenticity while honoring heritage. Her expression is calm, confident, and forward-looking. There is strength in her gaze, a sense of purpose that reflects her historical significance. The inclusion of her child adds emotional depth, transforming the coin into more than just currency. It becomes a tribute to resilience, guidance, and motherhood. On a circulated, dirty coin, these details may appear softened. The high points, such as her cheek and the folds of her clothing, wear down over time. But even in worn condition, the design remains powerful. The reverse, created by Thomas D. Rogers Sr., features a soaring eagle surrounded by 17 stars. These stars represent the number of states in the Union during the early 1800s. The eagle, captured mid-flight, symbolizes freedom, expansion, and the spirit of a growing nation. In dirty condition, the eagle's feathers may appear less defined, and the surface may show uneven toning. But this only adds to the individuality of the coin. Now we move into one of the most exciting areas for collectors, errors, and varieties. The year 2000 is especially important because it is the first year of issue for the Sacagawea dollar. First-year coins often carry a higher likelihood of minting anomalies, and this series is no exception. One of the most famous varieties associated with the 2000 Sacagawea dollar is the Cheerios dollar. These coins were included in cereal boxes as part of a promotional campaign. They feature a different reverse design detail, with enhanced tail feathers on the eagle. While most collectors will never encounter one, it represents the kind of hidden rarity that makes this series so exciting. Other errors include double dyes, where parts of the design appear duplicated, off-center strikes, where the image is misaligned, and die cracks, which create raised lines across the surface. Even small errors can significantly increase a coin's value, especially when clearly visible. Now imagine combining that with a dirty, naturally toned surface. A coin with both an error and unique toning becomes highly collectible, something that stands out from the millions of standard examples. Market value for the 2000 Sacagawea dollar varies widely depending on condition and features. In typical circulated condition, most coins are worth around $1 to $2. Slightly better examples with appealing toning might reach $3 to $5. Coins with noticeable errors can range from $10 to several hundred, depending on the type and severity. The rare Cheerios variety can command thousands of dollars in high grades. But beyond price, there is something else driving interest: accessibility. These coins are not locked away in museums. They are still out there, in circulation, in collections, in forgotten drawers. Anyone can find one. Anyone can examine it. And anyone can discover something unusual. That sense of possibility is what fuels modern coin collecting. A dirty 2000 Sacagawea dollar might not look impressive at first glance, but to a trained eye, it could reveal subtle details, unusual patterns, or even hidden errors. It becomes a puzzle, a story waiting to be understood. And there is also a philosophical element to this. In a world where perfection is often prized, the Sacagawea dollar in dirty condition reminds us that imperfection has its own beauty. Where tells a story. Toning reflects time. Each mark is a record of use, of movement, of history in action. For some collectors, that authenticity is more valuable than pristine condition. Of course, this brings us to an important warning. Never clean your coins. It may be tempting to restore shine, to make the coin look new again. But cleaning removes the natural surface and can leave behind scratches or unnatural brightness. This often reduces value significantly. A dirty coin, left untouched, preserves its originality, and that originality is what collectors respect. As we step back and look at the bigger picture, the 2000 Sacagawea $1 coin represents a fascinating intersection of history, art, and everyday life. It was created with high hopes, produced in massive numbers, and then quietly settled into a role as an overlooked piece of currency. Yet within that ordinary existence lies extraordinary potential. Hidden errors, unique toning, historical significance, all waiting to be discovered by those willing to look closer. So the next time you come across a Sacagawea dollar that looks worn, dull, or even dirty, it might be a piece of history, a collector's opportunity, and a reminder that even the most common objects can hold uncommon value, if you know where to look. The 2000 Sacagawea $1 coin from the Denver Mint, in what many would simply call a dirty condition, but what collectors are starting to look at very differently. 2000 Sacagawea $1 coin. When the Sacagawea dollar was first introduced in the year 2000, it represented a major shift in U.S. coinage. The goal was simple but ambitious. Replace the unpopular Susan B. Anthony dollar with something more visually appealing, more historically meaningful, and more likely to circulate. The result was a golden-colored coin featuring Sacagawea, the Shoshone woman who played a crucial role in the Lewis and Clark expedition. The Denver Mint, marked by the small D mint mark on the obverse, produced a massive number of these coins in 2000. In fact, over 767 million Sacagawea dollars were struck at Denver alone. That number is staggering, and at first glance, it would suggest that this coin should be extremely common and essentially worthless beyond its face value. But as any experienced collector knows, mintage numbers are only part of the story. Let's talk about the design first, because this coin is anything but ordinary. The obverse, designed by Glenna Goodacker, shows Sacagawea carrying her infant son, Jean-Baptiste. The portrait is not based on an actual historical image, as no confirmed likeness of Sacagawea exists. Instead, it was modeled after a contemporary Shoshone woman, creating a symbolic and respectful representation rather than a literal one. The expression on Sacagawea's face is calm, determined, and forward-looking. Her gaze is slightly upward, almost as if she's guiding not just an expedition, but the future itself. The detail in her clothing, the folds of the fabric, and the presence of her child all contribute to a deeply human and powerful design. On the reverse, designed by Thomas D. Rogers Sr., we see a soaring eagle surrounded by 17 stars, representing the states of the Union at the time of the Lewis and Clark expedition. The eagle is dynamic, wings fully extended, captured mid-flight. It's a design that conveys movement, freedom, and expansion, all central themes of early American history. Now, here's where things start to get interesting. Most collectors focus on coins in pristine, uncirculated condition. Bright luster, sharp details, no marks. That's the standard. But the coin we're talking about today breaks that expectation completely. We're focusing on a dirty 2000 Sacagawea dollar, a coin that has seen circulation, exposure, and environmental effects. At first glance, a dirty coin might seem damaged or undesirable. The golden color may appear dulled, with dark patches, uneven toning, or even a brownish or greenish film across the surface. But what many people don't realize is that this dirt is often a form of natural toning or environmental reaction, and in some cases, it can actually make the coin more interesting to collectors. The Sacagawea dollar is made of a manganese brass alloy, which gives it that distinctive golden color. However, this alloy is highly reactive to environmental conditions. Exposure to air, moisture, oils from human hands, and even certain storage materials can cause the surface to change over time. This means that no two circulated Sacagawea dollars age in exactly the same way. Some develop a rich, dark golden tone, others take on a patchy, almost camouflaged appearance, and a few exhibit dramatic color shifts that can range from deep brown to subtle hints of green or even blue. These variations are not considered traditional toning like you might see on silver coins, but they are still highly unique. Now, let's address the big question. Does a dirty condition increase or decrease value? In most cases, heavy dirt, grime, or damage will reduce a coin's value. Collectors generally prefer coins that are clean and well-preserved. However, there's a growing niche within the hobby that appreciates unusual surface appearances, especially when they are natural and not artificially created. If a 2000 Sacagawea dollar shows interesting and visually appealing toning, even if it's technically dirty, it can attract attention. The key factor is eye appeal. A coin that looks unique in a good way, something that stands out, can sometimes sell for more than a typical circulated example. That said, the baseline value of a circulated 2000 Sacagawea dollar remains around $1. It's still legal tender, and millions are still out there. But certain factors can push that value higher. One of the most important factors is the presence of errors. The year 2000 was the first year of issue for the Sacagawea dollar, and with any new coin series, the chances of minting errors tend to be higher. The Denver Mint produced such a large quantity that quality control, while generally strong, wasn't perfect. Some known errors for the 2000 Sacagawea dollar include off-center strikes, die cracks, double dies, and planchet errors. While most of these are relatively minor, some can be quite dramatic and significantly increase the coin's value. For example, a strong double die on the obverse, where the lettering or design elements appear doubled, can turn a $1 coin into a collectible worth tens or even hundreds of dollars, depending on the severity and clarity of the doubling. Another interesting variety to watch for is the so-called wounded eagle error, though this is more commonly associated with the Philadelphia Mint. Still, similar die gouges or marks can appear on Denver coins as well, creating unique and collectible variations. Now imagine finding one of these errors on a coin that also has unusual toning or a distinctive, dirty appearance. Suddenly, you're not just looking at a common coin anymore. You're looking at a one-of-a-kind piece with multiple layers of interest. Let's also talk about wear. A circulated coin shows signs of use, flattened high points, small scratches, and a general loss of detail. On the Sacagawea dollar, The highest points include Sacagawea's cheek, the folds of her clothing, and the eagle's breast feathers on the reverse. In a heavily worn coin, these details can become smooth, almost blending into the surrounding design. While this reduces the technical grade of the coin, it also tells a story. Every mark, every worn edge, it's a record of the coin's journey through countless hands, transactions, and moments in time. Some collectors actually appreciate this history. A dirty, worn coin can feel more real than a pristine one. It's not just a collectible, it's a piece of everyday life that has survived and endured. Now, when it comes to grading, a dirty coin presents a challenge. Professional grading services typically do not clean coins, and in fact, cleaning a coin yourself can drastically reduce its value. Cleaning often removes not just dirt, but also the natural surface layer, leaving behind unnatural brightness or visible hairline scratches. So if you have a dirty 2000 Sacagawea dollar, the best advice is simple: leave it as it is. Natural condition, even if it looks less appealing at first, is almost always better than an improperly cleaned coin. In terms of market value, most circulated examples of the 2000 Sacagawea dollar sell for between $1 and $3, depending on condition and eye appeal. Coins with interesting toning or minor errors can reach $5 to $20. More significant errors, especially well-documented varieties, can go much higher. But here's the real takeaway. The value of this coin isn't just in its price, it's in its potential. Because these coins are still out there, still circulating, still being overlooked. You could find one in your change, in a coin jar, or tucked away in an old drawer. And while most will be ordinary, some might not be. That's what makes this coin so fascinating. It's accessible, it's historical, and it carries the possibility of discovery. So the next time you come across a Sacagawea dollar that looks a little dirty, a little worn, maybe even a little ugly, don't dismiss it too quickly. Take a closer look. Because sometimes, the coins that look the least impressive are the ones with the most interesting stories to tell. The 2001 Sacagawea dollar from the Denver Mint is proving that sometimes, the most underestimated coins carry the deepest stories and the most unexpected potential. And if you've ever ignored one because it didn't shine, you might want to think again. 2001 Sacagawea $1 coin. When the Sacagawea dollar debuted in 2000, it was meant to redefine the future of US dollar coins. It carried the hopes of the United States Mint to finally create a circulating dollar that the public would actually use. With its golden color, smooth edge, and powerful historical symbolism, it was a dramatic departure from the small, silver-toned Susan B. Anthony dollar that came before it. By 2001, the second year of production, reality had already begun to set in. Despite the initial excitement and massive promotion, the Sacagawea dollar was not widely embraced in everyday commerce. Production numbers were significantly reduced compared to the first year, and the Denver Mint struck approximately 103 million coins in 2001, a sharp drop from the nearly 767 million minted in 2000. That reduction alone begins to shift the narrative. While 103 million is still a large number in absolute terms, within the context of modern U.S. coinage, it represents a noticeable decline. Fewer coins entering circulation means fewer surviving examples in all conditions, especially as time passes and coins are lost, damaged, or removed from use. Now layer onto that the concept of condition, specifically, what many would casually call a dirty coin. The 2001 Sacagawea dollar, like all coins in this series, is composed of a manganese brass alloy. This gives it that distinctive golden color, but also makes it highly reactive to environmental exposure. Over time, these coins do not simply wear down, they change. Coins that have circulated for years often develop uneven surfaces, darkened patches, and a muted, almost aged appearance. What was once a bright golden shine becomes dulled, sometimes even blotchy. Oils from hands, moisture in the air, and contact with other materials all contribute to this transformation. And here's where things become truly fascinating. That dirty appearance is not always damage. Sometimes it is character. Collectors are increasingly paying attention to coins that show natural aging in unique ways. A 2001 Sacagawea dollar with unusual toning or distinctive surface patterns can stand out in a sea of otherwise identical coins. The randomness of environmental exposure means that no two coins age in exactly the same way. Some develop deep, rich golden hues, others show a mix of brown and amber tones, and a few display irregular patterns that almost resemble artwork. While traditional grading standards may penalize these coins for lack of brightness, there is a growing appreciation for originality and individuality. Of course, not all dirt is desirable. There is a clear distinction between natural toning and harmful contamination. Thick grime, corrosion, or sticky residue can obscure details and reduce the coin's appeal. But even in those cases, experienced collectors often resist the urge to clean the coin. Cleaning is one of the most damaging actions that can be taken on a coin. When a coin is cleaned improperly, it can lose its natural surface layer, resulting in an unnatural shine or visible scratches known as hairlines. These alterations are immediately noticeable to trained eyes and can significantly reduce the coin's value, sometimes permanently. So a dirty coin, left untouched, often holds more integrity than a cleaned one. Now let's explore the design, because the artistry of the Sacagawea dollar is one of its most compelling features. The obverse, created by Glenna Goodacker, presents a portrait of Sacagawea carrying her infant son, Jean-Baptiste. This design is not based on a historical portrait, but rather on a modern interpretation intended to honor her legacy. The expression is calm, confident, and forward-looking, capturing a sense of guidance and resilience. There is a warmth in the design that sets it apart from many other U.S. coins. The inclusion of her child adds a human dimension that resonates with collectors and historians alike. It's not just a depiction of a historical figure. It's a story of journey, survival, and contribution. The reverse, designed by Thomas D. Rogers Sr., features a soaring eagle surrounded by 17 stars. These stars represent the number of states in the Union during the time of the Lewis and Clark expedition. The eagle, wings fully extended, is captured in motion, symbolizing freedom and expansion. On a circulated 2001 D coin, especially one in dirty condition, these details may appear softened. The high points of the design, such as Sacagawea's cheek and the eagle's breast, tend to wear down first. Over time, the sharpness of the original strike fades, giving the coin a smoother, more subdued appearance. But even in this worn state, the design remains recognizable and powerful. Now let's turn to one of the most exciting aspects for collectors: errors and varieties. The 2001 D Sacagawea dollar is known to exhibit a range of minting anomalies. While not as famous as some first-year 2000 varieties, there are still notable errors that can significantly increase a coin's value. These include off-center strikes, where the design is not properly aligned with the planchet, die cracks, which appear as raised lines caused by fractures in the die, and double die errors, where elements of the design appear duplicated due to misalignment during the striking process. Even minor errors can attract attention, especially when combined with unusual surface characteristics. Imagine a 2001 D Sacagawea dollar with a visible die crack running through the design, combined with natural, uneven toning from years of circulation. That coin becomes more than just a piece of currency. It becomes a unique artifact. And uniqueness is one of the most valuable qualities in coin collecting. Now let's talk about market value. In standard circulated condition, a 2001 D Sacagawea dollar typically holds a value close to its face value, around $1. Slightly better examples with decent eye appeal might sell for $2 to $4. Coins with attractive toning or minor errors can reach into the $10 to $20 range. More significant errors or highly unusual appearances can push values even higher, sometimes into the $50 to $100 range or beyond, depending on demand and documentation. But perhaps the most important factor is collector interest. The Sacagawea series occupies a unique space in numismatics. It is modern enough to be accessible, yet rich in symbolism and history. It invites collectors to look beyond traditional definitions of value and consider the stories behind the coins. A dirty 2001 D Sacagawea dollar might not win awards for condition, but it might tell a story that no pristine coin ever could. It might have traveled across states, passed through countless hands, witnessed everyday transactions, and quietly endured years of use. Its surface, marked and altered by time, becomes a record of that journey. And for some collectors, That journey is what truly matters. There is also an element of discovery that keeps interest alive, because these coins are still out there. They are not locked away in vaults or limited to elite collections. They can still be found in circulation, in bank rolls, in coin jars, and in forgotten drawers. Every time you come across one, there is a chance, however small, that it might be something special. That possibility is what fuels the passion of coin hunting. And it's why even a dirty coin deserves a second look. In the end, the 2001 Dirty Sacagawea $1 coin reminds us of something essential about collecting. Value is not always obvious. It is not always shiny, perfect, or immediately impressive. Sometimes, it is hidden beneath layers of wear, disguised by dirt, and waiting for someone curious enough to take a closer look. So the next time you see one of these coins, don't just pass it by. Sacagawea Native American $1 coin without date and mint mark in dirty condition. The Sacagawea dollar, first introduced in the year 2000, was created to honor the Shoshone woman Sacagawea, who played a crucial role as a guide and interpreter during the Lewis and Clark expedition in the early 19th century. Designed by sculptor Glenna Goodacker on the obverse, and initially featuring a soaring eagle on the reverse by Thomas D. Rogers, the coin was later transitioned into what we now call the Native American $1 coin series, starting in 2009, where each reverse design changes annually to celebrate Native American contributions to U.S. history. Under normal circumstances, every Sacagawea or Native American dollar coin contains clear identifying features. On the obverse, you'll find the portrait of Sacagawea with her infant son, Jean-Baptiste, secured on her back. Around her are inscriptions including Liberty and In God We Trust, though after 2009, the date, mint mark, and motto, E Pluribus Unum, were moved to the edge of the coin. This edge lettering is crucial. It's not just a design choice, it's a security and identification feature. Every legitimate coin must have it. So what happens when a coin appears without a date, without a mint mark, and possibly even without edge lettering altogether? That's where the mystery begins. Coins missing their edge inscriptions are known as edge lettering errors, and they became particularly notable in the early years of the presidential dollar series, especially in 2007. However, similar errors have occasionally been reported in Sacagawea and Native American dollars as well. These errors occur during the minting process when the coin bypasses the edge lettering machine entirely, leaving it blank. Collectors often refer to these as godless dollars when In God We Trust is missing, but in the case of Sacagawea dollars, the absence of the date and mint mark makes the coin appear almost anonymous. Now add another layer, condition. The coin we're discussing isn't pristine. It's described as dirty, possibly heavily circulated, maybe even stained or discolored. At first glance, this would seem to diminish its value. In traditional numismatics, condition is king. Coins are graded on a scale from poor to mint state, and higher grades command higher prices. Dirt, wear, scratches, these usually reduce desirability. But error coins rewrite the rules. In the world of mint errors, rarity often outweighs condition. A heavily circulated coin with a dramatic minting flaw can still command significant attention and value. Why? Because the error itself is the story. It's the uniqueness, the deviation from perfection, that draws collectors in. Let's talk about how such a coin could exist. The minting process for these dollar coins involves several stages. First, blank planchets are created from metal strips. These blanks are then fed into presses where dies strike the designs onto both sides of the coin. After striking, the coins move to an edge lettering machine, which imprints the date, mint mark, and mottos onto the edge. If a coin skips this final step, due to a mechanical failure, misalignment, or human oversight, it exits the mint without those critical details. These coins can then enter circulation unnoticed, blending in with millions of others. But sharp-eyed collectors and everyday people sometimes catch them. Now, let's consider mintage. The Sacagawea and Native American dollar coins are produced in relatively low quantities compared to other circulating coins, especially in recent years where demand has decreased. Many are struck primarily for collectors rather than general circulation. This already limits the pool. When you factor in the probability of an error, especially one that escapes quality control, the numbers shrink dramatically. Exact mintage figures for error coins are impossible to determine. The U.S. Mint does not track or release data on errors. However, based on auction records and collector reports, edge lettering omissions are considered scarce, and examples from certain years are rarer than others. Now let's address the dirty condition. A coin described as dirty might have environmental damage, toning, or residue from years of handling. In some cases, what appears to be dirt could actually be natural toning, chemical changes on the surface that can sometimes enhance value if visually appealing. However, if the dirt obscures key features or results from improper storage, it may lower the grade. But here's the twist. On a coin missing its date and mint mark, the lack of clarity might actually amplify the intrigue. Collectors might be more forgiving of condition because the error itself is so visually striking. Authentication becomes critical. Because of the unusual nature of such coins, professional grading services like PCGS or NGC are often used to verify authenticity. They examine whether the missing edge lettering is a genuine mint error or the result of post-mint tampering. For example, someone could theoretically grind down the edge to remove inscriptions, but this would leave telltale signs under magnification. A genuine mint error will show no evidence of alteration. The edge will appear smooth and consistent, just as it left the mint, only without the expected lettering. Now, let's talk market value. Prices for Sacagawea dollar error coins vary widely depending on the type and severity of the error, as well as collector demand. Edge lettering errors have sold anywhere from $50 to several $100s in circulated condition. In higher grades, or with particularly dramatic errors, values can reach into the thousands. A coin that completely lacks a date and mint mark due to missing edge lettering could reasonably fall into the range of $200 to $1,000 or more, depending on verification and demand. If the coin is authenticated, well-documented, and marketed effectively, it could attract serious interest at auction. Collector interest in these coins is strong, particularly among those who specialize in modern errors. These collectors are always on the lookout for unusual pieces, coins that tell a story, that represent a moment when the minting process didn't go as planned. And that's what makes this coin so compelling. It's not just a piece of metal. It's a mistake that slipped through one of the most controlled manufacturing processes in the world. It's a silent anomaly, circulating unnoticed until someone stops, looks closely, and realizes something is missing. In a world where perfection is expected, imperfection becomes extraordinary. So the next time you come across a seemingly ordinary dollar coin, maybe even one that looks a little dirty, a little worn, take a closer look. Check the edge. Look for the date, the mint mark. Because hidden in plain sight, you might just find a coin that breaks all the rules and holds a story worth far more than its face value. Rare and most valuable 2000 P. Dirty Sacagawea $1 coin. When the United States Mint introduced the Sacagawea dollar in the year 2000, it was meant to revive the idea of a circulating dollar coin that people would actually use in everyday commerce. The design featured Sacagawea, the young Shoshone woman who played a critical role in the Lewis and Clark expedition, carrying her infant son Jean-Baptiste on her back while guiding and translating across unfamiliar American frontier territory. The coin itself was a symbolic shift, replacing the Susan B. Anthony dollar and introducing a golden-colored manganese brass-clad composition that made it visually distinct from quarters and other silver-colored coins. The Philadelphia minted 2000 P. Sacagawea dollar was produced in massive numbers, with a total mintage of roughly 767 million coins for circulation. On paper, that figure suggests the coin is extremely common, and for the vast majority of examples, that is absolutely true. Most 2000 P. Sacagawea dollars are still worth only face value unless they are found in pristine, uncirculated condition. However, what makes this coin series so fascinating is not the common strikes, but the hidden layers of variety, minting anomalies, and special experimental issues that have turned a simple $1 coin into a modern collecting phenomenon. Collectors often refer to some early Sacagawea dollars as dirty examples, not because they are intentionally flawed in a dramatic sense, but because certain coins exhibit unusual surface characteristics, weak strikes, or early production inconsistencies. In numismatic discussions, dirty can also loosely refer to coins that have environmental toning, contact marks, or contamination from the minting process or long-term circulation handling. But when collectors talk seriously about value in relation to the 2000 Sacagawea dollar, they are usually not referring to ordinary ware. They are chasing specific varieties and error-adjacent issues that emerged during the experimental phase of production. One of the most important elements in understanding this coin's value story is the experimental striking process that took place before full-scale production. The U.S. Mint tested multiple prototype strikes using different metals and enhanced design features. Among these experimental coins were what collectors now call the Cheerios dollars, which were distributed in limited numbers inside promotional boxes of Cheerios cereal. These coins featured a different and more detailed tail feather design on the reverse eagle, often referred to as enhanced tail feathers. This subtle design difference was not widely known at the time of release, and many recipients spent them unknowingly. Those enhanced tail feather varieties are now some of the most valuable modern U.S. dollar coin discoveries. High-grade examples of the Cheerios Sacagawea dollar have sold for thousands of dollars, with exceptional certified specimens reaching well into the five-figure range depending on condition and grading rarity. This is where the dirty reputation sometimes overlaps in collector conversations, because some circulated or mishandled early strikes are mistaken for or confused with rare varieties, leading collectors to scrutinize every detail under magnification. Another major area of interest is die variation and striking anomalies from the Philadelphia Mint during the initial production run. Some coins show weak strike areas, especially on the eagle's wing feathers, while others exhibit minor die gouges or wounded eagle effects, where a raised line appears across the eagle's body due to a die defect. These varieties are not as valuable as the Cheerios enhanced tail feather coins, but they still attract strong interest from variety collectors who specialize in modern mint errors. Condition plays a massive role in determining value. A standard circulated 2000 Sacagawea dollar with scratches, discoloration, or heavy wear typically remains at face value. Even uncirculated examples, without grading certification, might only bring a few dollars above face, depending on demand. However, once a coin is certified in high mint state grades, such as MS67 or MS68 by major grading services, the value can increase significantly due to scarcity at those elite preservation levels. The dirty descriptor can also extend to coins that have developed unusual toning patterns over time. While toning is not technically an error, collectors often pay premiums for visually appealing or unusual coloration. However, in the Sacagawea series, toning alone rarely creates extreme value unless it is combined with another significant variety feature. What truly drives collector interest in the 2000 Sacagawea dollar is the intersection of modern minting technology and early production experimentation. Unlike older coins where minting variations were more common due to manual processes, modern coins are expected to be highly uniform. That is why when something unusual does appear, whether it is a double die, a striking anomaly, or an experimental design carryover, it becomes immediately important in numismatic circles. The market for these coins is also influenced heavily by awareness. Many collectors actively search through rolls of Sacagawea dollars obtained from banks or old collections, hoping to find overlooked varieties. This search and discover dynamic keeps the coin relevant more than 2 decades after its release. It is not unusual for valuable specimens to still surface in ordinary places because most people do not inspect these coins closely. Auction records show that the highest prices for 2000 Sacagawea dollars are reserved for those rare experimental or variety coins in top condition. While most remain modest in value, the key takeaway for collectors is that this series contains hidden tiers of rarity that are not immediately obvious from the mintage figures alone. A coin minted in hundreds of millions can still contain individual specimens worth hundreds, thousands, or in exceptional cases even more, purely due to production anomalies. From a collector's standpoint, this coin represents an accessible entry point into modern U.S. numismatics, while also offering the thrill of high-level discovery potential. It is one of those rare cases where a coin that appears ordinary at first glance can transform into something extraordinary under closer inspection. And that is what keeps the 2000 Sacagawea dollar so important in today's collecting world. It is not just a piece of currency from the year 2000. It is a reminder that even in modern minting, rarity can still hide in plain sight, waiting for someone patient enough to recognize it.